amidst a legend of the entertainment industry, one of my personal favorites. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm Welsh welcome to the incredible, the legendary Giancarlo Esposito! Make some noise for Giancarlo Esposito!
We love you well!
We are so happy you can join us here in Wales. I said we're amongst a legend here. What's Comic-Con been like for you so far?
It's been terrific. It really has been. You know, after you get a little bit of jet lag and the fans wake you up with all their beautiful spirits and their wonderful hellos, you sort of get present again and you realize that you're in a different place, a different culture with really wonderful people.
Yes. And I'll tell you what, the crowd here in Wales is so polite, so respectful. They've been wonderful. I know you have a lot of creative questions you're going to come up with for Giancarlo. There is a microphone right over here if you guys want to start lining up. I know there's going to be a lot of questions. The good thing about this panel, Mr. Esposito, is that I have to do no research. I have to make no notes because I have followed your illustrious career. There are so many wonderful roles that you've had, and the only problem is to narrow it down to my favorites, but I have to ask you about one of the more recent roles that you had for the Mandalorian, Moff Gideon. Can you tell us what it's like to work as a part of the Star Wars universe?
You know, when I got the call from Jon Favreau, I got really excited. He said I had good news and I had bad news. He said, which do you want first? I said, give me the good news. It's always good to hear the good news first. He said, I wrote a role for you in Mandalorian. And I said, what's that? And there was a long pause, and he said, you know, Star Wars? I said, oh, okay. And he asked me before we finished speaking if I had any requests. And I said, I must have a cape. And he said, done deal. And so it was a really wonderful thing to work on because I had been a Star Wars fan when I was young, and the earlier movies have you just fall in love with this, you know, whole world and the universe itself. And for me to be joining that, I think I had to pinch myself. It wasn't until I got in the dressing room, and I had two different costumes, as you know, if you're seeing the show. And the first costume I had, of course, was just good enough for me. And I was standing in the mirror, and I put on that cape, and I just started to swing it, walk around. I was like, whoa, yeah! And I realized, that's when I think I really realized that I was in, and that I could really develop this character into someone who I thought was believable, organically real, and also fun. So this show allowed me to feel like a child again. And it reminded me that as we get more mature in age and our lives become sort of regular, we think, because it's only our minds that convince us that we're doing the same thing every day, but we're really not if we look at it through the right lens. And so for me, it allowed me to play again. And there was another moment with Jon Favreau where we had a fight scene, Cara Dune, myself, and the director, and we couldn't figure out, she had a big, huge blaster, and she's trying to subdue me. And I said, well, what's to stop her from just pulling the trigger? Why did you shoot me? And Jon Favreau came down and scratched his head, and he looked at me, he says, and he's really brilliant, and so is Dave Filoni. These guys are the brain trust of Star Wars. Dave specifically and especially, and John incredible with his execution and the writing of the stories. And he said to me, I know you're gonna make this work. He pulled me to the side. He said, you know, all your experience, this is why I hired you. So, you know, get with the director and you'll figure it out. I trust you. And that was the moment that I realized that all of us in life, not only me, who's been doing this for 57 years, maybe 59 years at this point, we all could use to be empowered. Empowerment is to say, I believe in you, I support you, I trust that you're going to make the right decision. Do you trust yourself? I have 4 daughters myself, and I realized, oh, a daughter will ask me a question, I realized, oh, she doesn't quite trust herself to make the right decision. So my job as a parent is not to tell her what to do, it's to share my story of information, of how it's been for me, allow her to think about it, to come to the right decision for herself. So that's, in a way, another kind of empowerment. So in that moment with Jon Favreau, I was completely empowered to use my instinct. Remember what that is? My organic instinct, my gut. How do you feel? When do we ask each other in our lives, how are you feeling? People do it a lot here, I noticed. Are you okay? You all right? And I used to just goof on it a little bit yesterday, and I went, oh, today I realized they're taking my temperature, asking me to take my own temperature, to speak it, right? So many times we feel things and we don't say how we feel. We might look grumpy until someone asks you, then you realize, oh, I'm a little bit grumpy today. If we're honest and truthful as to how we feel and sharing it. People here really want to know, and I love that. So in that moment with Jon Favreau, I was empowered. And I realized empowerment is a special thing. It's a special thing because it allows you to feel like you can trust yourself, and it acknowledges that you, if you don't in the moment know the answer, that you can give yourself some space to be inspired, to think about it, and then to have the answer.
Love that so much. Well, do indulge me for one more fangirl question before we get to the fans here.
Absolutely.
I've noticed, sir, that you tend to be on the naughty side when it comes to the roles that you take. You know, you're on the naughty side. Does it feel good to be bad?
Oh, so good. You know, I was told years ago that acting, for some, it could be a way of healing their personality. And I never forgot that. For me, it does feel good to be bad. It feels gooder than good and better than any other time in my life because a certain part of my personality has been healed. The abandoned child who suffered from a divorced family, the angry young black man who in America couldn't get work when I was 17, 18 because I was encouraged to dumb down my speech because that's the way it was then. The person who thinks that there are the big capital letters, they, T-H-E-Y, who are not allowing me to take my rightful place in the world. They're holding me back. That they, T-H-E-Y, capital letters, now means me. You get it? So, to play a bad guy now, I revel in it because I've always loved the baddies because there's something about them that is good underneath it all. It's just that no one listened to them and that they become angry, resentful, and they want it their way. Well, that's me. I'm a big kid. I want it my way. Ah! Right? I mean, so it's allowed me to really look at myself in a different way, and I've gotten really good at it. I do play some good guys. I played some good guys in the past in the way of justifying the rounded or the well-rounded nature of my career. So I'll mention Stargirl, where I play a paleontologist teacher. I'll mention Unpregnant Road Trip, 2 independent films that I really love and enjoy that really mean something for our world and society. But the bad guys still captivate me and have an interest for me.
We're certainly captivated, are we not, Wales? My goodness. What an honor to interview you. But let's take it to the fans. We know we have a lot of questions.
So you've been in a lot of superhero movies in the past. Most recently, you're going to be in Captain America: Brave New World. What are your thoughts on Robert Downey Jr. returning to the MCU as Dr. Doom? And what are your thoughts on the MCU going forward in the future?
You know, I love that I've been invited, and I have a debt of gratitude to all the fans because they were the ones who began the conversation, and I encourage them to continue that via social media. A lot of folks wanted me to play X, and they thought that might happen, but the reason the conversation started was because of all of you. And I'm tickled pink. I'm really excited to be in the MCU. It's been announced I'll be playing Sidewinder, which I'm excited about because it's a character from the comics that you've never seen before. So for me, it's important to try to honor being original. Every one of you in this audience has an original signature, not only in your hand, but in the signature of your soul. What you have to offer this world is original. No one else can bring that special feeling that you have to what you do other than you. So first I want to acknowledge that. I believe that I, just like many people, all of us want to be seen. We want to be seen for who we really are. We want to be seen for the things we do well, and we want to be supported in the things we don't do well so that we can do them better. So that you're eventually working toward being your best self. So I'm excited to be Sidewinder because it's a character you haven't seen that I get a chance to be original about and to figure out with them what this character should be. Now, it wasn't always this way for me. Normally, as an actor, you go in, you audition, you have to win the role, and you do what's on the page. And this time around, they called, and we talked about this character. We talked about this character by another name. We talked about what would be best for the whole MCU. And so I can only hope that I'll have an opportunity to maybe work because the MCU now is the whole universe and is a crossover appeal. So I'm hoping I'll have a chance to work with Robert Downey Jr. How do I feel about him coming back? I'm excited because Marvel is excited. And Robert is an incredibly wonderful actor. And how many chances as an actor do you get a chance to play one character and then come back as another? It's a wonderful opportunity, and if there's anyone that can do it and do it really in a big and great way, it's Robert Downey Jr. So I'm happy for him, I'm happy for me, and I hope we get a chance to come together.
So, two questions into one. Love you as Moff Gideon. What was it like getting to work with Grogu on set, and what are your thoughts for the new Mandalorian and Grogu film coming out in 2 years' time?
I love working with Grogu. When I first met Grogu, I was walking by a table with a canvas over it and with Jon Favreau, and we were on our way into the volume, and he said, "Oh, wait a minute, do you want to meet the child?" Because at that time we called Grogu the child. We hadn't really gotten to the definition of who he really is and was. And I said, absolutely. He pulled off the canvas, and a second later, auspiciously, the puppeteer was coming by and said, "Oh, would you like to interact with him?" And I was like, yeah. And so the puppeteer started to move the puppet around from underneath the table. And I just stopped and I went, wow. And John started to explain, we were going to do it CGI, we were going to do this, we were going to do that. And I said, no, this is the way to go. And I stopped for a minute and I said, "John, this is the star of the show." And he said, "Huh?" I said, "This child is the star of the show." And he kind of scratched his head and went, "Huh, okay." And I walked off to do my scene. It was fun. So much fun for me that, in my earlier scenes, when I have Grogu in handcuffs, and with the darksaber, waving it in front of his face, having a little fun, saying, "Have you ever seen one of these before? Oh, careful, you're liable to lose an eye." That was all improvised. And I rarely improvise because I feel like the writers come up with words that are oftentimes better than mine. But when I feel like it really comes to me and I'm loose enough, I'll throw something in, and they loved it, John loved it, because it was really, the child was really real to me. It just looked so real, it moved so real, and it plays into, again, our imaginary child that lives inside of us that really wants to be rekindled for all of those us who think we know too much, and for all of the young who are still unjaded and living their lives in wonder, joy, and enchantment. Your life is always supposed to be that way. So Grogu, my relationship with Grogu became a real special thing for me, because even though I wanted that child, and I kept justifying and telling myself I want that child for good reason, that child will save all of us, that child has something that we all need, I still feel that way, and I think that it reminds me to remain and continue to be in a childlike way, in the way that I see the world today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for watching this video. If you like what you've seen, give the video a thumbs up and subscribe today and turn on the notifications to be notified on new videos. And I hope to see you on the next video. Bye.